run it back with a kickoff return, and he got one of the very best in the business with Stump Mitchell. I thought that
was... They let him do it.
And they just let him do it.
And twice he had squibbed the ball. 3 times he'd squibbed the ball into and twice out of the end zone.
You're right.
So we're headed for a 15-minute overtime sudden death period. And they call the captains, Greer and O.J. Jr. and Ozzie Newsome. And the linebacker, Eddie Johnson. Let's listen. See who's going to get the ball in this all-important first possession. St. Louis won the toss, which is so darn important in these overtime games. Of course, important if you do something with the ball. We'll take a break, and then we'll watch some overtime play. We're tied 24-all. Well, we're going to start overtime. Which team, Hank, as we look at Marty Schottenheimer, which team do you think feels better about the situation right now?
Oh, I'm sure Cleveland does. I think that the fact that they could play as well and come back like they did, they have to feel, I think the motivation is in their favor. I think that St. Louis has to be disappointed in the fact that they almost lost the football game and had to come back to tie it like they have. So I really think the edge is to Cleveland from a mental standpoint.
12 in your picture was Scott Bruner, the backup quarterback to Neil Lomax. And there's Jim Hannafin. We have tennis coming up next here on CBS. It's the finals in the men's division, Lindell and McEnroe. This is supposed to be a 5-minute breathing period for the players. Now the referee says, let's get going. They start a 15-minute overtime period, but the first score of any sort, touchdown, field goal, or safety, and the game's over. There's Scott Bruner, acquired by the Cardinals. What do you think of that acquisition?
I think it's a very good one. Scott Bruner played a lot of good football for the Giants. He comes from the same division. He's big and he's tall. He's got a good arm. He's a very bright guy. I think he's a good backup. He'll be a good backup guy and add a dimension that they didn't have before.
There were only 38 seconds left when Cleveland took the lead, and I'll be darned if St. Louis didn't come back in time. And now the kickoff by Matt Barr. And there's Stump Mitchell, along with Ron Wolfley, the rookie out of West Virginia. The rain has stopped. We had some rain. We got a little bit of everything, come to think of it.
And here again, Jack, I would not kick the ball deep unless they felt they could kick it into the end zone. I would kick a knuckleball to make sure they don't get a good return.
Matt Barr awaits the signal from the referee, Jerry Seaman, who's still over to the sideline.
And Terry Harrington, number 36, he's no slouch either. He's got good speed. He can run.
Here's some finals. Detroit by 1 over Atlanta, 28-27. And New England held on and beat Green Bay, 26-20. Giants still undefeated. Win their first game after going through the preseason without a loss, 21-0 over the Eagles. And look at there, the Super Bowl champs lost to Minnesota, 28-21. Bud Grant brought some tricks out of the North Woods with it. And the Bears, a playoff team, by 10 over Tampa Bay, 38-28. Pittsburgh, a big winner, 45-3 over Indianapolis. Here we go into overtime. That ball is taken by one of the upbacks, Wolfley. He's across the 30 to the 35 to the 37, giving St. Louis good operating position. Now for an NFL Today report, let's go to Brent Musburger in New York.
Well, Jack, here's one of the tricks that Bud Grant brought out of the North Woods. Time running out on Joe Montana. He'll heave it toward the end zone. Rufus Best with an interception. And Jack and Hank, would you believe that on opening Sunday, both San Francisco and Miami are upset? Back to you in Cleveland.
So the 2 Super Bowl teams were knocked off today. The ball at the St. Louis 36.
And what they have to do here, they got to get 3 first downs, Jack, and get it in kicking position. Whatever they get beyond that is a bonus, but that's what their mentality has to be. To get 3 first downs or get the ball down to that 35-yard area to get a shot at the field goal.
The next game for Cleveland will be a Monday night game here a week from tomorrow against Pittsburgh. St. Louis is back home against Cincinnati next week. O'Jay. And he is near the 40. Got 4 yards at the most. Rather conservative start, huh?
It is, especially with Green being one-on-one on their left cornerback, Minifield. I still think that they have to take a chance. I don't think Minifield can cover. I don't think he can cover Roy Green, especially when they're in close bump and run coverage. They were in that coverage last time, and I'm surprised they don't take a chance to go up on top and get a big play.
Camp and Cousineau made that tackle early on. The Browns lost Clay Matthews, their linebacker, and Al Gross, their safety man. 2nd and 6.
Now they're going to double the receivers. They got a double zone.
4-man rush. Lomax rolling, running, throwing, caught by O'Jay. He's going to get a first down and more. Across midfield, inside the 45, down near the 42. Big play because of the scrambling of Lomax.
And the other thing is he knew exactly where everybody was. See, they double covered. He wanted to go to Green. The time to go to Green was on the play before when he had man-for-man coverage. But they double covered Green there. You see he's looking downfield. Then he looks down to the other side. Now he sees the guy he faked the ball to is wide open, Otis Anderson. He dumps the ball off. And it's Pat Tilley downfield trying to get a block on Minifield. But he does a good job of running.
To the Cleveland 43, and Anderson goes out. That means a little lightning bug. Stump Mitchell is in it. Marsh is on a wing. Green to the left, Tilley right. Here comes Mitchell, and somebody stood him up. He got through. Stump went to the 40. Bob Golick was the tackler. No wonder it stopped so quickly.
Boy, he slid off that block in good shape and made a good tackle.
Now along the sideline, Neil O'Donoghue is doing some strolling, wondering, thinking. Golick in the middle is number 79, 2nd down and 7. Tilley left, Green left. Another running play. Mitchell almost shook loose. He's down to the 35, and it's going to be 3rd and about 3 with Golick another tackle. Was that a trap, Hank?
It looked like it was. Yeah, it looked like it was.
The ball to the Cleveland 35. At this point, it would be a 52-yard field goal try. There's O'Donoghue. His longest last year was 49 yards. Let's see what they do. Green right, Tilley left. Still under center. Farrell in the backfield with Mitchell. Green in motion. Lomax to throw, drops it off to Farrell, and he's out of bounds, and he has the first down. So Lomax is picking them apart now to the 27. Minifield covering Farrell, who missed a couple earlier.
They were very concerned about trying to cover Green that time, who ran a delay pattern across the field, and they were very concerned about him. As I mentioned, Lomax wisely throws the ball out into the flat. Farrell is wide open, and Minifield finally knocks him out of bounds.
And now we would have a 44-yard field goal. So it's a little different. There's the Browns coach, Marty Schottenheimer. Boy, you know, sometimes it really doesn't seem fair when they have that coin toss and one team or the other goes down and scores without the other team even having a chance. They'll give it to Mitchell. Wants to hang on to the ball. He really got popped. He's down to the 25-yard line.
Boy, the middle looked like he was going to be wide open. I don't know who closed it, but somebody did, and they stuffed the play. It looked like Eddie Johnson again, number 51.
What a good play he has made. He knocks Mitchell away from some of his equipment. The ball is resting on the Cleveland 25. Now it would be a 42-yard field goal try for a win. So the Cardinals will try to get closer, and they have 2nd down and 8. Everything they throw, they wanted to be very safe. Cleveland has turned the ball over 3 times today. There's O'Donoghue with his pulse racing. And St. Louis has not turned the ball over at all. We have a timeout on the field as they tend to Eddie Matthews, and Neil Lomax goes to the sideline talking to Hannafin and Dick Jamieson. So we'll take a break. 2nd and 8, St. Louis at the 25 of Cleveland. We're tied at the Cleveland 25. Here in overtime, tied 24 all. Lomax to stump Mitchell. Outside, inside, got 5. And we have a 3rd down coming up, and now it would be a 37-yard field goal try. Tom Cousineau made the tackle.
They're getting a good surge from the left side. Louis Sharp came off the ball in good shape that time. They got a good drive block. And
the tight end, Doug Marsh, got a good block.
Right, and Doug Marsh also did a number on the linebacker. And, of course, Stump Mitchell just looked for the crease and took advantage of it and burst through there in good shape.
On 3rd down and 3, Cleveland beefs up their defense. It's about actually 2.5 yards for a 1st down. So failing to make it here, they'd have O'Donoghue kick. The ball's at the 20. Almost a fumble. Broken play, and Lomax rolled close to a 1st down. You know, they darn near fumbled that handoff from the center, the snap.
They did. That certainly did. It looked like Lomax was in a hurry to try to get the ball to the ball carrier, potential ball carrier. In the process, almost fumbled it. And wisely knew where the play was going to go and followed right behind the blockers and got the most out of the play as he possibly could.
He went to the 18, and I think he's short of a 1st down by about a yard. Less than a yard. They're going to measure. He ran to the Cleveland 18, and now this would be a 35-yard field goal try. That was a 3rd down play. If they're short, they'll try the field goal. They're going to be short. Tom Cousineau made another tackle. They are short, and it's 4th down, and here comes the field goal unit. O'Donoghue has made one, and he has missed one.
Cleveland ought to call timeout right here.
It would be a good move.
They ought to call timeout. Let's see if they do. They ought to call timeout to make him think about the kick.
It's going to be a 35-yard try, 36-yard try.
I'm surprised if they don't call timeout here.
He made one of 37. He missed one of 45. Scott Brunner will get it down. And Carlos Scott will snap it, and a timeout is called by Cleveland. So they heard Hank Stram's advice, and they're going to give O'Donoghue a chance to let the pulse rate get a little bit higher. I know mine would be. How about yours?
Right. Nervous. We had a situation like that against Pittsburgh back way long ago, Jack. We had 3 seconds left to go, and the holder, whose name was John Galvin, he faked an injury, and so we had 3 seconds to go. I thought sure we were going to run out of time, and I had to kick the ball, but he kept saying, "Loosen up your toe." Loosen up your toe.
And we have tennis coming up next on see will be the best game we'll see all year.
It's certainly a great one, and it's going to be good for both teams, especially if he makes this field goal. Talking about the St. Louis Cardinals, it looked like really they didn't play like they're capable of playing, I don't think, as far as their exciting brand of play is concerned.
If he misses it, why Hannafin is not going to be Irish anymore. O'Donoghue kicking it. It is a 36-yard try with Scott Brunner holding as St. Louis tries to win it here in overtime. Let's watch the stick. It's good. Brunner gets it down. And it is a win for St. Louis on a 36-yard field goal by O'Donoghue. The final score, 27-24. What an effort, Hank, by the Cleveland Browns. Your heart really goes out to it.
It really was a great effort. They played like they wanted to play. They made some mistakes that were costly, but they hung in there throughout the game and fought gallantly. It was a terrific game for them, and, of course, a tremendous first-game win for the St. Louis Cardinals.
The Cardinals play Cincinnati at home next week, and a week from tomorrow night, the Browns will entertain the Steelers, who won big today. And we're going to have a replay of that kick, and everything seemed to go right. The snap was a little inside. Bruder got it down right through the middle. Now we'll look at the happy Irishman over there. That was quite a drive after winning the coin toss, and really sometimes it doesn't seem fair, Hank. You toss the coin, and here Cleveland in overtime, and they never saw the ball. Here's the kick again.
Was watching. He's trying to steer it through there. He didn't have to. It was right down the middle.
Okay.
And he walks away. Nothing to it. He says nothing to it.
Nothing to it. 27-24. There's Schottenheimer as the ball split the upright. Well, he kind of knew it was going to happen, so he's got to go back to the drawing board, back to work. Huh? Some are happy, some are sad. It was a whale of a football game if you didn't care who won. In overtime.